continue with the second episode of the Cloud Solutions comparison, which is going to include AWS, Google Cloud, OpenStack, and Microsoft Azure. Previously, we covered how we're going to go through that, which is going through the history, business models, technical fundamentals, and quality. We covered the Microsoft history previously, and the type of the business model that they have, in my belief, and a conclusion of the Microsoft Azure very concisely. Now, today we're going to start with the Amazon history. I received a comment that my previous video was too slow. The problem is that in my lectures that I've done in Stuttgart, I was speaking actually too fast. So the reason I made it slower was because of the German audience. Auf Deutsch, wenn es unbedingt nötig ist, ich kann das auch auf Deutsch, wenn jemand fragt. Sonst ich mache weiter auf Englisch, weil das ist ein bisschen mehr international. فارسی اگه کسی میخواد تمام این اطلاعات رو به فارسی هم من میتونم انجام بدم و میتونید شما در زیر کامنت ها بپرسید و من سعی میکنم که چند تا کلیپ به فارسی هم براتون انجام بدم. Now, so that was in two other languages that I explained whether I can go faster or slow with my speed. Also in the YouTube there is a facility that you can speed up or speed down the clip's acceleration or the speed of the clip. Now we start with the history of the Amazon. Amazon is very different to Microsoft because Amazon started off by selling music and videos as a simple, straightforward company purpose and a mission statement. So it was very clear what they were doing from the beginning, which was very hard work and very focused on what they wanted to achieve. The growth was transparent, people knowing what they were getting themselves into. By that, what I mean is that at the moment there is a lot of complaints about the way that Amazon is functioning and perhaps taking some of the business away from the retail. But I think this is just a healthy capitalism. It's not as much manipulative. I don't want to get too much into the political side of it, but to my view, they've always have been very transparent. They always focus on hard work for organizing data, but not acquiring others and naming as theirs. And this is the most important one. If you have a better data, better organization of your products, well, then you win. If the retail can't do that, well, then they can compete. And they've competed well. I find it honest. They entering the retail market and consumer staples was beneficial to general public to create price balance by avoiding chains of middlemen. So you're saying they're stealing the business from the retail. But very often you don't find the product that you want, but it's in Amazon you can find it, and you can find it at very competitive prices. But the reason for that is not just because they manipulated, no, because they created an easier way for the actual origination of the product to present themselves and to sell it directly to the customer. And this gets rid of all these chains of middlemen in between that they're making money just for being in the middle. Now, that gives you the fundamental history of the Amazon, to my point of view. But we're talking about the cloud now. So they entered the virtualization and the cloud solutions by introducing EC2 and S3 as the initial product that was clearly marketed being built on Linux distribution. So, well, as a system analyst, programmer, or technician, whatever you want to call it, we were supporting a lot of data centers. As these data centers, they have different flavors of the Unix at the time, such as Solaris, HP, AIX, and so on. So we were very familiar with the way that Unix and Linux was basically taking over the whole world, the whole internet, and how it was functioning. And it was only logical that it would be the dominant operating system and the TCP/IP, the dominant protocol. And what they offered was to create this, because at the time the virtualization was born, and it was possible to create a layer on top of all these data centers. And that was the commercial name for the cloud because of the virtualization. You could put together a lot of CPUs to create virtual CPU. You could put a lot of memories to create a virtual memory. And as a higher encapsulation, you could put a lot of data centers to create a virtual data center. And this virtual data center, namely cloud, was what they were offering. And the way they were offering it was by EC2, which was basically your operating system machines, that they were making it available to you as a container of the operating system machine. That's the first approach they had. But that didn't mean that you didn't have control over these machines. You had absolute control over these machines as a virtualized machine, just being like being on a Linux server and having all the open source facilities that is available for that. And then the S3 for the storage. So the approach was not to basically encapsulate something as like Linux and say it is ours, and now we are giving you EC2 that you can use it as our operating system. No, they went by the rules, and they're offering the services if you needed it. Otherwise you could have brought up your system and manage it. Now we're going to the business model. The AWS business model is, to my knowledge or to my interpretation, and what I can see from their performance for these many years in the market, is, first of all, they bring the retail to public at a fair price, which we discussed it already, how that actually functions. They make the products more reachable and available internationally, which basically, if you want a product that is available in America, you through the Amazon you can get that, and sometimes it's more expensive, but still we can find a fair price for it. Even you can compare it with other services such as eBay, which has a different type of market, which I'm not going to compare it in this particular video. And when it comes to the actual AWS, the cloud, it lets the public to decide what is the best system by making it accessible to all businesses or academics through AWS. So if you're a student that doesn't have that much money and wants to experiment with different types of Linux operating system and how they function and build their stuff, they even give you an opportunity to use the AWS free of charge until you decide if you want to go ahead with it, and you can even use it for university projects at very low costs, and allows the businesses to actually create the whole infrastructure on the AWS to find out whether it is feasible for what they want to do at a very low price. I mean, the price is so ridiculously low that business wouldn't even have to think about budgeting for that sort of project or the mini projects that they want to do. And so it is very academically useful as well for the students to grow. Now, that was very successful, so they have expanded to offering microservices upon need, while keep on having the fundamental systems at lower price, reachable to customers who prefer to build their own. Well, as an example, for instance, everybody's familiar with the Docker. AWS, they have their own container management microservices that you can run it without even creating any infrastructure, any service at the background, because it does it automatically. But they don't force you to be stuck to this microservice. If you decide to, you can create your own VPC, or you can create your own servers, you can create your intricate details of the network and run a Docker on top of it. It's your choice. It'll be a lot more complicated, will be more time consuming, and perhaps it's cheaper because the microservice is already made for you. I mean, at the background, the infrastructure gets automatically built for you, but you have the option. So if you're a big business, you don't have time for all those intricacy, and you want it to be automatically done, it will do it for you at a price. By doing so and being flexible and covering all different types of markets positively, they have become successful. Any company will have some problems with the governments, from taxations and so on, but that is not what we're focusing here. We're just looking at the business model, how it's effective for us, not what sort of problems they go through. And yeah, I find that that is the reason that they have become successful, and they have successfully implemented such business models, having grown to take big chunk of artificial intelligence and analytics, namely big data, which is a commercial name for it, from the market, along with other companies such as Apple and Google, which are also my favorite companies in comparison to a few other. Because these companies, even the Google, which we are going to cover later on, they had a purpose from the beginning. And the purpose was something optimistic, something positive, constructive, to go ahead. And that is it. As a conclusion, I do recommend Amazon Web Services for the projects. I help to design and with the architecture of the particular infrastructure or the business model that you want to build. They are the most advanced cloud with the most selection of microservices for infrastructure as code, infrastructure as service, platform as a service, and software as a service, which are the categories that you will see when you go to the first page, and it's expanding. And some of the areas can be very intensively involving and complicated, but the organization is so well that it can be differentiated and constructed very cleanly. They are the most reliable platform for continuous integration for software development and continuous deployment for production deployments. So you simply can have this bridge between your also CD and CI and bring down the whole infrastructure automatically, or shut it down, save money, and so on. The only problem that we have had historically is when it comes to the GDPR of the EU. There are some gray areas, but even those areas are possible to be overcome through incorporating technical competence in architectural design and security, and that's what we offer. If you have any more questions, please write your comments below and hit the bell for notification for the next clips.